Okay, there we are. Okay, so that should get the mic working. Awesome. Audio. Okay, let's see here. Awesome. Okay. All right, let's see here. Let's see here. Can we get the polling working this time? Let's find out. Do 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 do. Let's see here. Hello, Molly. How are you doing? Let's see here. Here we are. Out of curiosity, can you see any sort of like poll or anything else along those lines? I've got a new extension in place, which will hopefully resolve itself to give everybody access to a poll. Don't know if it's working. Let me see. All right, good to know. Then we'll see if we can't resolve that. That's fine. That's fine. Still happy to have you. Okay, let's see here. So it looks like okay. It looks like it's mostly working, so that's something. Let's see here. Twitch polls. That might work. Let's see. Your dogs are cute. Dogs are cute. I love them. Yeah, those are your little hellions, is that? That's lovely. Let's see here. Let's see here. Yeah, it's possible. In theory, it would work like that. In theory, all that would happen is that it appears on the side, but you know, we'll see. Okay, so anyways, let's see here. Thing is live. Is that appearing on the side? Is extensions. If anybody is watching in chat, this is a trivia game called Bajillions. Basically, the object of the game is to figure out which question is bigger. So the total visitors to all Disney parks in 2017, or the total worldwide copies sold of all versions of Tetris. This is card A. This is card B. Go ahead and vote on which one you think is bigger on the chat poll. And this is the question right now, is do you see a chat poll? Because if you don't, then I did something wrong, as one would expect. There's, in theory, an extension somewhere in chat or something that is allowing people to vote on which one is bigger and by how much. Oh, sweet. Okay. Awesome. Brilliant. Then let's see here. Is that currently live? Let's see. Well, no votes as of yet. Go ahead and place your votes. But are you okay? So it works. Sweet, awesome, hooray for untested technology. You know, testing and production. It's what we do. Nothing but the utmost professionalism. Okay, all right, fair point. All right, so this is A, this is B. Total worldwide copies sold of all versions of Tetris versus visits to all Disney parks. Okay, all right, we got the vote. Yeah, system works. Woo! We've got a vote for A and a vote for B 100x. Wonderful. Now let's see if I'm able to view. Okay, sweet. The votes came in. Awesome. am I able to... Now comes the real question. Can I see who voted what? Because I've been going through like 16 different ones of these systems. And a shocking number of them don't let me know who voted where. Oh, weird. That's interactable. Okay, let's see here. I got an A and a B10 underdex. Okay. So, no, I can't. Man, we sure tried, though. But we can at least figure out what the answer was. All versions of Tetris, 170 million paid subscribers versus 150 million, which means that A was correct, A alone. Very good job, one of you. I tried writing my own extension. I promise I did. We'll tiny pop-up in the corner of the feed viewed from iPhone. Good information. Yes. I can also put the cool thing though is that at least I can push this button, which resets the votes, so that I'm able to, at the very least, get the next question on a bit faster. Without resetting results. No, wait, I do want to reset the results. No. Yes, outdid the poll, please. Alright, awesome. Oh, that's fun. It means that this poll means that you guys can vote again, but it doesn't wipe the questions from last time. Great! Okay, awesome. So I've got to retype it every time, which is going to remove a lot of question and tension. Well, that's unfortunate. I think your I think your dogs are taking you for a walk. I think your dogs are taking you for a walk. Moopy. Fan-friggin-tastic. Awesome. So, that means then that I can't wipe the answers. What kind of dumbass extension is... Okay, you know what? Fine. This is fine. This is fine. Let's keep playing. We'll play a couple of questions and then maybe, I don't know, we'll have a smoke or something. Here is question A. Here's question B. The half-dollar coins the U.S. minted in 2018, or the total airline passengers that fly in the U.S. annually? I can at least see deltas, so go ahead and vote on which one you think is the bigger one, and I'll be able to see how the questions change and just remember that. So we've got A and B. Alright, let's see how this updates. Oh, right now I guess it's something to mention. For those of you who were kind enough to back already and purchase one of our copies, we are currently over halfway done. We're halfway to our goal of 25 orders. We just have 12 orders left to go. I'm going to be posting on some other forums and places online. Hopefully, get some of those other orders, and then we'll be able to get those games. Oh, fun! Isn't popping up. Okay, well, I reset the thing, so we'll see if we can give that a shot. But Um, the but at any rate, we're actually I've already got a printer set up. I got the proofs back, which is fun, and they should actually be able to get through production pretty quickly. I found a way to get the whole thing condensed and ready to go as soon as possible. Something interesting that I discovered is that sorry about that voting system thing. I think, you know what, an external website wouldn't be a bad idea. If I made an external website, I know how to do that. I can make it so that I can have all the settings that I require. And maybe I could use the Twitch API. Well, forget the Twitch API for now, but I could do something like that. That's not a bad idea. At any rate, we've got that. That gain is a bit high. Let's take that down. All right, awesome. Oh, yeah. Best of luck. But the good news is that we just need just 12 more orders, and then I'll be able to do the full production run. As of right now, I'm hoping that I can pull some more strings, post in some more places, and get us over that last hump. Production will take all of maybe like a week, and then it's just packing things in a box, numbering and signing each one, and then sending it off. Should not be a problem at all. Let's see here. All right, so we've got a vote for B10X, and I love how the tiny one works and the big other one doesn't. But yeah, all right, cool. B10X. So let's see. We've got B, but a lot more than 10X. So there you are. Well done. 10X does in fact pay out. Okay, let's see here. You know, I really should have had a backup in regards to things to do, for sure. Bajillions is fun. Bajillions is fun, but I probably should have had plans for some other kind of game available. You know, that's a fair point. It's like gambling, but more ethical, because I don't make lots and lots of money. Wait, hang on. That's a bad idea. I should probably just consider that. You know, it's funny, when we were at GamerCon, we were showing off the game, and there were lots and lots of school children that had come by. And what was hilarious about it is that the game, if played right, involves a lot of chips and a lot of things sort of all over the place. And it's incredibly hilarious to watch a whole bunch of school children basically playing craps. They were all huddled around the table, and at one point it was like up to 15 of them, and they were putting their betting cubes onto the betting board, and they were going like 10x. Well, you say 10x, I say 2x, and so on as they go over the whole thing. And it was very fun to watch them, and I felt slightly unethical, except for the fact that I wasn't stealing money from them, so it's fine, probably. But it was very fun to see the teachers and everyone else being like, oh, this is... the teachers didn't pick up necessarily on that it was like gambling, because what happened is that the kids were going crazy over the facts, because again, it's a teaching game a little bit. It teaches people that the world has a lot of big fuck off huge numbers, and the teachers were like, maybe we can adapt this game to have facts for teaching, which is a clever idea. It's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Which is a clever idea, but I actually think that this is only sort of a good teaching tool. It's a good teaching tool in that the fun facts on the back are the best spot to have teaching on them, because the facts on the back, they have interesting and amusing and occasionally incredibly snarky remarks from myself. In fact, let me just... The good news is that I can actually pretty easily bring this up, because even though everything is awful, I can at the very least show these here. Can I do the thing? Come on, OBS. Work with me here. Video capture device. That's fine. We'll do it this way at least then. It is. It's got the opportunity for some fun facts on the back. Let me see if I got a good. We got a good example of it here, of one of the card backs. Card backs. Like, can we get one that isn't bad yet? But yeah, here we are. This is the one for the biggest bomb exploded in human history. So, like, things that you might not necessarily know about. It's pretty interesting. That said, that's kind of the only spot that's good for like actual like learning, if I'm honest. And the reason why is because they're just numbers. They're just giant numbers. And the one thing that I think that school does that is not necessary is memorization. Memorization is the most useless thing that you need to know while in school. Show of hands, who has had to remember stupid ass dumb facts in school that you forgot immediately after the exam, because why would you remember them? Nobody cares about the exact dates in which Henry VIII lived and died. What's important to know is that Henry VIII existed, and why we remember him and not some of the other Henrys. The context is substantially more important than anything else. So definitely I remember that. The thing about this game is that it's basically doing things in the opposite direction. It's a little bit like a quiz, because it's like, okay, so by the Internet Archive. But the real... the reason why this game is so difficult and why it's an interesting and good game is because it adds the context and it brings it back in weird ways. Like, web pages are archived by the Internet Archive versus grains in a pound of fine natural sand. those are contexts that make no sense next to each other. Um, and yet it kind of works. And the reason why it kind of works is because, humans are bad at big numbers. We just are. And as such, when you put a number we don't understand against a number we don't understand, that kind of breaks your brain in a way that you're not quite sure why it broke. Exploring the limits of what the human mind is capable of is always great fodder for games, because you can. It's sort of like playing with a mental optical illusion a little bit, and because like we all think we know large numbers, right? Like you know the total value of all bitcoins in the world. It's a big number. It's a big fuck off number. Easy to understand. But how many is a million, really? Right now, you are looking at a picture of me, and that picture is currently in resolution. I believe on Twitch the resolution is well, it's not 1920 by 1080 because that's not quite what is close enough. 1920 by 1080. But if we were to look that up, that's you right now. You're looking at me. You're looking at 2 million pixels right now, give or take thereabouts. The face you're seeing right here, this beautiful, washed out, blasted face, which has questionable lighting at best and shiny skin at worst, that is 2 million pixels thereabouts. What does that even mean? If you zoom all the way in, you see little points of light, that's a single pixel, yeah. And so 2 million of them you zoom out, but it's still kind of hard to wrap your mind around how many a million is. There's that book made a while ago called How Many's a Million. And that book didn't, and the book had like a bunch of little stars in them, but the book didn't actually have a million stars in it. You had to reread the book 7 times in order to get all the stars. Big numbers kind of hurt our brains. Take the length of the Great Wall of China in feet. Why feet? Well, the real game designery reason why is because miles is a big number, but it's not like a big number like this. You've got to have a number that is somewhat bigger than a few thousand, and smaller than the high trillions, because otherwise the game doesn't quite work. Like this is around about the lowest number that I allow in the game, which is in the low thousands. Because otherwise, things would be blown out of proportion all the time. But feet. Why do I do feet here? Well, because it looks a lot more impressive in feet. But here's the thing to know about the Great Wall of China. I was looking this up as well. The Great Wall of China is tall. It's thick with not one but 2 seas. And it had like fortifications, like every 5 miles, a big one every 10 miles, and then like a castle every 25 miles ish. They're called Li. It's different, but close enough. It gets the idea across. And you weren't going to look it up anyway, so there. But think about that for a second. It's like 25 feet, 24, 25 feet tall, 22, 23 feet wide. Now think about a foot of that, the volume of that. That's like bigger than my apartment. It's massive, and that's 1 foot. Now imagine it's 69 million feet. And they weren't using backhoes. Like, this is really freaking huge. It's Also, interesting fact about Great Wall of China, by the way. Everybody thinks that they were using it in order to keep out invaders and the Mongols and stuff, and that's only half true. The main reason it's so big and so extensive, and also not a straight line, is because they had to. They were trying to keep each other out. China was, for the longest time, not really friends with itself. They didn't unify until like the Middle Ages, and they had a long period in which they didn't trust each other at all. I mean, think about how freaking big China is. You think that, like, that massive landmass of people, you think they just got along just fine for the longest time? No. Those walls were there to keep each other out. But then they were unified to create a wall to be like, hey, horses, fuck you, to the Mongols, which sort of worked until it didn't. But anyways, let's see here. But yeah, any other interesting ones I can talk about? Let's see here. Here's an interesting one. Grains in a pound of fine natural sand. This is one of those ones that actually I think is interesting because it highlights weird things that you, upon reflection, realize must be true, but kind of makes you feel a little bit about. Specifically, specifically that it's legally defined. The thing about it is that it is legally defined by the actual millimeter size of each of the granules. Got that from XKCD actually, because there's this awesome chart, USGS, what was it? Particle size, I think, is what was it? Yeah, here we are. Yeah, this thing. All right, so this is actually pretty sweet. I'm showing you all of the hottest. What the fuck is going on? Hey. Behave. What are you doing, OBS? No, don't unload the image. Save the image. Save image as... Okay, fine, we'll do it this way. It's called the Wentworth scale anyways. And it is like a shockingly pleasing graph. So check this out. Alright. Yay, OBS isn't being dumb anymore. So check this out, alright? I recognize I'm geeking out, and that this is probably not the best thing for Twitch, but you know what? Screw you. My stream, my rules. If you don't like it, please don't leave. I'm so lonely. So check this out. So basically, they've got a legally defined thing here to say, like, what is legally a boulder, to cobbles, to pebbles, to sand, to silt, to clay. So yeah, clay, actual clay, is just really, 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 really fine sand. And legally speaking, they've got the exact amounts that are on there. I get the distinct impression that that's sarcastic. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine. But yeah, I find it to be absolutely fascinating. It's the sort of thing that you would never expect. It's also why each of these freaking cards takes like 45 minutes to research. in order to go through which. Well, what's the problem? What's the big deal? There are 80 cards. There are 80 of these cards. And that's just the research, my friend. That is not the graphic design, the text setting, and all the other stuff, which admittedly I have lovely people who occasionally help me out with some of those other bits, but that is beside the point. But yeah. Oh, you know what's a good thing to talk about, though, actually? Is some of the rejected facts. Let me see. Should I be allowed to? No, I'm not. I'm not going to show the actual list of all the facts because that would be salacious. But nevertheless, so we've got a. So here's a good question that you would think would be a fantastic Bajillions question. In fact, I thought of this one a while ago. The number of ants in an average anthill. That sounds interesting, doesn't it? Oh, I know. Ants in an anthill. That sounds like a large number. I wonder how big. Maybe it's between several thousand and a couple trillion. Oh, great. Wonderful Bajillions question, right? Yeah! About that! A day went into that into that question, and you know what? That is a really hard question to answer because guess what? There's no such thing as an average anthill. Here's the first question: what kind of ant? No, it's roughly the same, right? You know, ants are ants. How complicated could... Shut up. There. Ants are ants, right? How much variance could there be in ant species? Carpenter ants, red ants, the ants I squish, grease ants. What is, well, no, you fool. Ants come in a wide variety of scales, sizes, and they all go in different, well, no. Okay, and we're making this too complicated, making this way too hard, okay? Let's make this easier, right? Common ants. Find out what kind of ant it is that lives next to us, and we'll just use that one, and then just the average colony size of that. No, you fool! You absolute fool! Because guess what? The kind of ant that is around in the North Americas, that's... what the fuck kind of ant was this? I keep forgetting. I blocked it out because as a defense mechanism. Etymology. I don't know. It's just fucking black ants, I think is what it was. Yeah, okay, so so is the black garden ant or something? I don't know. The point is, these assholes don't actually live in one set colony. Because you would think, if you see ants out in the world, what do you think of? Oh, you think of the little dome thing, the thing that's covered in sand. And then the ants go in, the ants go out, the ants go marching 2 by 2 into the colony. It is where they all live, right? That's how it works. No, it isn't actually. As it turns out, it is a very, very big colony that spans the entire fucking continent. Mega colonies. And it's like, well, okay, so that's a bit much. What we're especially considering that it's like in the trillions and trillions and trillions, which blows out the maximum amount that I allow for the game. So then, what then? No, just like one colony, okay? Don't limit it to a massive global colony thing because that's ridiculous. What anthill? One anthill. Just look at one freaking anthill. Guess what? The anthills are connected. You can't actually distributed between the two of them. No, there are queens, right? There's this simple hierarchy. You've got a bunch of queens in the whole area and the whole thing. Well, guess what? There's more than one queen usually, and they connect to different anthills in different places. Okay, alright. Well, then has any researcher just, like, I don't know, frickin' taken a shovel, scooped out a anthill area, and then it's like, where the tunnel stops, you stop. Like, well, here's the thing, boyo bucko pal. They've got, ants will often have multiple entrances into their colonies. And the entrances usually mesh together into their friends. Yeah, the different colonies tend to mush together. And so there's no clear answer as to where a colony stops and a colony begins, which means statistical analysis, not really a thing, which means that you can't really start one and end one somewhere else, which means that finding out how many ants are in an anthill is not an easy question to answer. Okay, great, fantastic. Can we just, like, fuck all that? What studies have been done on? Turns out no one cares. Turns out while people do care about ants in particular, no one has actually, like, done a full-on study on how many ants are in the anthill, because this is a problem that I've discovered for a lot of numbers that you'd think would be fantastic things, bajillions, is that no one gives a crap about a lot of these. Methodological issues aside, a problem that regularly tends to happen is that, like, nobody knows because no one's bothered to check. Everybody wants to know how many stars there are in the sky, right? Because it's a big philosophical question and interesting and might have tangential scientific effects. Nobody cares about the number of ants in an anthill. Scream Standing, thank you so much for the order. I apologize that the number of ants in an anthill is not going to be one of the questions that you will find in it. For reasons that I hope are obvious given the previous rant. Thanks to you, that number is now 11 as opposed to 12. Thank you so much. Thank you. Let me see here. Hello, Janine. Let me see here. Sure, it would be nice if I could find the other... here we are. Okay. So, what are some of the other hellscapes that I have been burning too much of my precious and short life on? Let's see here. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Yes, let's look at the X's. Alright, so... Oh, yes. Oh, this is a good one. The cost of housing in San Francisco. Pop quiz. Yeah. San Francisco, famously, one of the most expensive places to live. Definitely in the U.S., possibly on a short list in the world. But cost of housing. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, well, that's a huge number, right? That's got to be, like, ridiculously large. And it is. It can be a big number. Here's the problem. What is the average cost of a house in San Francisco? Well, yes, there are averages, but it's not that impressive when you average out everything together. The big question that you need to answer is, like, the big impressive ones that are between a few thousand to a few trillion. And to figure that answer out is actually shockingly difficult, because what counts, right? What counts as the big central number, because the numbers that are really big that grab people's attention are this house was sold for $3 billion. But I can't make that a question in bajillions, because hey, what was the cost of this one house that was sold this one time in bajillions? That's not an interesting question. Like, it's like, who cares? So the cost of housing in San Francisco, it's one of those things where it's like, I could do like square footage and then multiply that by the average amount per square footage, but that doesn't quite work because A, statistics are very variable on that, and B, no one has a good authoritative answer. Like, you've got like marketers and stuff that are saying certain things, but it doesn't quite do anything. It doesn't work. What else? Here's a good one. German marks, the US dollar was worth in 1923. German marks, who was around for that? Probably no one, I hope. Or if they are, then like, congratulations for being on Twitch. You're with the times. Yeah. So the problem with this one is that it involves knowledge of very specific history. German marks, the U.S. dollar was worth in 1923. Anyone want to take a quick guess in chat as to how high a number that was? I'll give you a hint. It was too high for bajillions. Yeah. Hyperinflation. It's a bitch. And by doing that number on there, it just kind of blows everything else out of the water. So the cost of $1 US in 1923 in German marks was ridiculously large. It was 4 quadrillion. Yeah, it's a number after trillions. 4 quadrillion, 210 trillion, 500 billion. It's too big. And you might be thinking, well, it's cool to have like, one or two like massive, huge numbers on there. But here's the problem. Is that from that point on, if you have a number that's like massively huge, it has the distinct issue of always winning. The point of this game is that you have, question number. It's a big number. What could it be? And big question number. Big number. What could it be? And they need to be able to like, if I trade out the question, that it still works. So it's like, they're both big numbers. I'm not sure which one it is. That's where the game comes in. But now imagine that Mr. Johnny McBignumber comes in at 4.2 quadrillion. That number is so big that you're gonna remember it. And that's kind of the problem. See, the thing is that this game is shockingly replayable. It's a trivia game that you can play over and over again. I know, weird, right? Because the thing is that, like, you would think that trivia games aren't replayable. And you're right, they're not. If we ever play Trivial Pursuit again, I'ma flip my shit. You can't do it again. Oh boy, about San Francisco house. That would be an astronomically large number. That would be in probably the quintillions. But you need to be able to trade them around is the thing. Because if you can't trade them around, then like it's not an interesting question anymore. And the whole point of a game, no matter if it's a video game, a board game, or anything else, interesting decisions make good games. And so you've got to make sure that you've got those interesting decisions. And if one number is really big, then the interesting decision is gone because you do the one you remember. Shockingly, yes, this game is unplayable if you've memorized every single one of these numbers, but pop quiz, I showed the Great Wall of China in feet earlier. Do you remember what that number was? Unlikely. Press F to doubt, as the kids would say these days. No, it's press F to pay respects, press Y to doubt. It's Call of Duty. versus something else. How many cards were sold in the U.S. in 1 year? Yeah, of bajillions, not enough. Hooray, COVID! As far as like card game, I think actually, if I recall correctly, there's not good statistics on that. That brings me to another good point actually. Here's another one that like drives. Here's another reason why sometimes facts don't make it in, which drives me up the wall. Bad sources. Let me tell you about this little game called Wits and Wagers. Wits and Wagers is a very fun party game. It's won a batillion awards. Should I say a bajillion awards? But it's not a bad game, honestly. It's legitimately not terrible. Wits and Wagers. Give me a picture because it'd be much better if I could, save image, copy image. Can I just do this? Nope, no I can't. We can't have nice things. No one can have nice things. JPEG. No, so Wits and Wagers, if you've never played it, is legitimately a really good party game. Here's a picture of it. And it's Witsery and Wagery Glory. We'll put that up there. You can live there. Wonderful. So Wits and Wagers is legitimately a very good game, actually. And the reason why is because it is design genius. The way the game works, in case you haven't played before, very simple. It's a little bit like Bajillions in that it's a trivia question that has a number. Only this time, instead of being between a lot and a whole butt lot, but Wits and Wagers is a number that is above 1 and below infinity, usually somewhere in the neighborhood of like the dozens to hundreds, thereabouts. And the tricky thing is that it's usually a question that everybody would think that they might know, but they don't know. For instance, what percentage of people wash their hands after using the bathroom? What percentage of Americans specifically wash their hands after using the bathroom? Or for instance, how many stones are there at at Stonehenge? And it's a genius idea because it's one of those things where it's like everybody can be wrong, but that's not the point. Wits and Wagers is especially genius because you can use those chips there to bet on which one is who wrote the right answer. You write your answer on these little boards of what you think the answer is, and then you arrange them lowest to highest. And you will notice that the closer you get to the middle, the average, the worse the payouts are. Notice how it says pays 2 to 1, 3 to 1, 4 to 1, 5 to 1, 6 to 1. Which means that you earn points based on where you put your big bet and small bet. Here's the thing about it, though. Since everybody is putting in bets, this is what's called wisdom of the crowds, which you may or may not have heard of. It's the concept that if you have a whole bunch of wrong answers, if you average them all together, you're likely to get something approaching the right answer. So if you ask, so if I were to poll chat, how many pens are in this cup, chat? Some people would say really high number. Some people would say too low of a number. Most people would say a number that's sorta close to right. Average them all together, you get something approaching the right answer. Wisdom of the crowds. Really interesting concept. And you can gamify that too, because then the thing is about this game is it's a bit of a crapshoot often. Because it doesn't matter whether what you wrote is right. What matters is whether you bet on what's right, and that's a critical pro strat there for if you're ever playing. What you write doesn't really matter all that much. You don't get any bonus for being right. Although in my edit of the game that I played at Puzzlarium, I did modify it so that correct answers pay out double, and I think adding a bit extra if you were right yourself. Where you bet matters, not on the thing you put in. And that's where the genius comes in, is that you can be wrong in how you bet, but your number can be right, and it's hilarious. Let me make it so I can see myself. Good, awesome, I'm beautiful. But it's genius. It's absolute genius, because if you are right, that's fun, because you're right, and you get points. Woo, go me. If you're wrong, that's funny, because the stakes are low. You didn't invest a lot of time and effort into it. All you're doing is just puffing out your chest and saying, I'm right, which is incredibly amusing. It also has the distinct advantage of being able to be like gambling, which is just in and of itself very it's one of the most enduring types of games out there. It has a natural story arc to it, which is mwah. And that's why my game also has a betting board, and goes on the whole thing. And the further you get out from the start, the riskier it gets, and the more points you get. That said, there's a reason why I made this game and not just a butt kiss to Wits and Wagers. Wits and Wagers is fun, however, has a couple of strong downsides. For one, the questions are kind of crapshoots more often than not, because if you're off by one, you're just wrong, which is incredibly annoying. I mean, Price is Right rules, don't get me wrong, create some wonderful dramatic tension and some hilarious comedy. But come on, if the answer was 21 and you guessed 22, that is about as correct as the person who guessed 20. At least on average, and mathematically speaking, exactly right. But it's one over. It's wrong. That and also, well then it's fine, just change the rules, right? Change the rules to make it so that whoever's closest gets it. And you can house rule it that way, for sure. There's nothing wrong with that, except that now you have to do math. And nothing drags down a party game like saying, okay, the average of these three things is 79, and it's fine. And if you're playing with somebody who's smart to do it in their head immediately, they're probably just going to win anyways. It's also a bit on the random side, which is honestly fine for a party game. Because, again, low stakes. This game's a bit on the random side as well. But I think my biggest annoyance with Wits and Wagers was two things. Number one, and the biggest one, is that bad sources. I would really like to say that that Wits and Wagers is got like amazing, fascinating facts, and it's true. Of the several I think it's like they've got like 60 cards, 2 questions in each card, so 120 facts thereabouts. Of those, I'd say that definitely about 5 of them are interesting. And if you're thinking that like I'm being a little bit harsh, remember I've actually played more Wits and Wagers than any other board game in my collection by a country mile. Why? Because it's a really easy go-to when you've got a group of 20 people that might be dropping in, dropping out, that are all getting ready to play The Floor is Lava, my other giant board game, and we're waiting for people to show up. Wits and Wagers is taught in like a sentence. It is very snappy to pick up, very snappy to run, and Bajillions didn't exist because I hadn't invented it yet. And more importantly, it can very easily and very flexibly, if you use giant whiteboard tables and markers, and dry erase markers on said tables, you can allow simultaneous play of almost unlimited numbers of players. It's ridiculous. And so, to that end, I strongly recommend Wits and Wagers if you've got a bachelorette party and you really don't want to have to deal with that bachelorette party because Susan brought booze and she's just being the worst, and you can't get them to murder each other yet because not everybody is here yet for Floor is Lava, and they're going to murder each other soon, hopefully, because that's what you do in Floor is Lava, but they're not here yet, so that's not going to happen. Wits and Wagers is fantastic because everybody thinks they're an expert and they're not, and that disconnect is hilarious. When you reveal the answer, people are like, "Yes, I'm right," or "I'm a dumbass," because yes, you are, Jim. Yes, you are. The thing though is that while Wits and Wagers is great, the fact sourcing is atrocious. Sometimes people would ask questions where it's like, wait a minute, hang on. In what year was this poll taken? Some of the questions are legitimately just like polls that people have, opinion polls people have taken of things. And again, that's not a problem for trivia games unless you really like trivia and you're the sort of person that's like, okay, great, I want to know everything there is to know to make sure that I'm making the right informed decision. That, and also, Wits and Wagers came out in 2014, and all of the answers have changed. Okay, it hasn't come out in 2014. The edition that I have came out then. Side note: if ever you're going to buy you're going to buy Wits and Wagers, do not ever buy the party edition. The party edition is crap. Is the crap edition of Wits and Wagers. It removes all the complicated rules. Which I'm gonna be honest. You're looking at this game right now. You're looking at that game. Complicated rules. Board that looks like that. Yeah, no. Play this version of it. The party game edition is hot trash, and I'm sorry I got it. There are also lots of other editions. Don't bother. If you want, you can actually use cross promotion opportunity. Do you love Bajillions, but wish that you had? But wish that you had more facts for them? Guess what? The card deck to Bajillions works with Wits and Wagers as an unauthorized expansion. In fact, we have an edition at Bajillions.fun where you can just buy the deck for this as opposed to the entire game if you just want the facts and cards. So if you want the exhaustively researched and well-cited facts that we've got on here, then you're welcome to buy it at Bajillions.fun and use it with Wits and Wagers because it actually does work. People might get a bit tired of writing 1,244,840,100 on the tiny little cards there, but you know what? That's your problem. But yeah, so bad citations was one thing that that drove me up the wall. Well, Janine, J9, you can get the cards at Bajillions.fun. The cards only edition is substantially cheaper than the overall edition, and frankly, the components are really nice to have. But they're not really required per se. The most important part is the cards, anyways. You can just bundle them all with a rubber band, and it'll work great. So, at any rate, so that was one problem I had with it, which was that for Wits and Wagers, which is that the citations were not good. Which is why there's fine print on each of the card there's fine print on each of the faces saying the unit, the clarification of type of unit if required, the as of date, which means that this is the date on which the source was collected, and the source itself. Also, this leads me to one of the reasons why half of the facts that I found on the internet, which I love and I really want to put in, and I can't do, is because it's got crap sources. Let me ask a really, really interesting Bajillions question, okay? How many Bic crystal pens have existed throughout the history of humankind? Bic crystal? What's a Bic crystal pen? A Bic crystal pen is a very special kind of pen. It's the ones that you have. They're like the clear pens that are like. Let me see if I got one of them here. It's a bit like this, except that they're the clear ones. Yeah, you know them, but you buy them by the 10,000 crate amounts on the internet. You'd think having an artist in residence would mean that you would have more pens easily accessible. Yes. 3. Well, here's the thing, right? According to this one source online, it's 2 billion. What was it? I think it was like 20 billion, something thereabouts. Multiple times the number of people that have been born since the big company has been made. I looked into this because this was actually on like a site called like historyofpencils.com or something, which, you know, that's a perfect source if ever I heard one. But it was on a list of facts that was like, wow, this is a lot of hot fire, hot take facts, which I am very suspicious of. And in fact, a lot of them are like that, whereas they're like listicle sites, and the bane of my existence. QY is especially guilty of this. But it's like historyofpencils.com, which was fine. I sent a letter to the webmaster saying, hey, this is a really cool idea about the number of Bic crystal pens that have been made. Could you give your source or working out? And what they did was, it turns out they did some original calculations. Oh, fun! Yeah, original calculations. Basically, what they meant was they looked at a report that was done by Bic, which, you know, if anyone would know, Bic would know. And the thing is that the thing is that I was really down for them using that, except that what they had done was that they made an announcement a while ago saying like Bic crystal Bic crystal pens have surpassed 2 billion units made. And so what they had done was that they assumed for a moment that from that point, which was made in like 2010 or something, they said since then this many days have passed. Assuming that the number of pens they make every day is constant, then the number of pens they would have at this time would be like several billion or something. And that doesn't work. That doesn't fly, hot potato, because the number of pens could be variable. Now we're talking about, you know, Fermi estimation here, so you can be off by a bit. That's fine. But this is made off of an offhand comment that the CEO of Bic made a while ago, and that doesn't work. That just freaking original. Which is incredibly annoying. Then comes Wikipedia. Oh, Wikipedia. I want to love you so much. I will say this, is that Wikipedia is fantastic for Bajillions, because you can find all sorts of numbers. If ever there was a community of people that cared about random and oddly specific numbers, Wikipedia is definitely that. And so it's fantastic. The problem, you can't just pull a number off Wikipedia, because I'm gonna be honest, if I was playing a trivia game and I saw in the sources, instead of NASA, according to Wikipedia, yeah, I would be upset, and rightly so, because of shit like this. What is the most purchased video game of all time? What's the biggest video game of all time, right? Well, you know, that doesn't seem like to be the hardest thing to figure out, right? It's not that ambiguous. Here's the thing. In the last year that I put up on to that I was looking at things for Bajillions, because I started this last year. God, it's been a while. It doesn't feel like a while though. Individual cards, exports. Can I just get the individual card backs? Here we are. Okay, I'm blind. Okay. Okay, here we are. So, here's a question. Total worldwide copies sold of all versions of Tetris. You know, this seems fine enough. Polygon, decent source, except that in this case it's kind of not. The number actually comes from a source from... so Polygon's number... Polygon's number comes from Wikipedia's main number for highest-selling video game of all time. It used to list it as Tetris, and it was like it was a pretty sizable number. It's like 94 million or something. Let me see if I can pull it up. But the thing is that like it didn't quite work because they were combining all versions of Tetris. Hey, what do you mean all versions of Tetris? There's the one version. It's the falling blocks. No, the truth resists simplicity, my friend. See, Tetris. You've got Tetris Panic. You got Tetris Attack. You've got the Tetris version that came on the original Game Boy. You've got the Tetris version that you can play online. You've got Tetris Mania. You've got all the different Tetrises. Well, surely then, those don't all count? Yeah, well, here's the thing, right? According to Polygon at the time, they did all count. So they just took them all, squished them all together into one entry, and then Wikipedia was like, we need a source. Oh, hey, Polygon, thank you for that. We'll take that, whoop, and that was what was at the top of the best-selling video game list of all time for Wikipedia. Makes perfect sense in a not really at all kind of way. Yeah, see, that's just it, right? Since then, Wikipedia has broken them up into their individual games, which is good, because it should not be all one big number. So you can't really just like use but the reason why I know this and all the details of this instead of just seeing that is because the talk pages on Wikipedia actually have a lot of heated debate in the past year on it. The thing is, Wikipedia actually updates pretty slowly, which is probably for the best. I mean, if it's on Wikipedia, it probably shouldn't be that fast, unless it's like modern news or something along those lines. Like let's take a look at the details for a Bic Crystal here. There's Oh my gosh! Oh wow! Okay, you know what? Hang on. I gotta show this. Let me see if I can. Let me see how I can show this. Video window capture. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do window capture. Yes. Okay. So this is amazing. Okay. So Bic Crystal, right? I was using it to like grab the thing for it. Okay. Let's look at some of the hot takes that are here in the talk section, because that's just it, right? This is where the real salad is made. Top heading, gee honey, that's amazing. Got a lot of spitting fire actually from the various Wikipedians going through the whole thing here. One of my one of the people that I work with at Puzzlarium, he added to Wikipedia, and he could tell you definitely that there is a lot of drama that happens here. I'm losing views. Wait! Why are you going away? I'm showing you the talk pages on Wikipedia! Come back! Isn't this not the amazing content that you wish that you could see? Why are you leaving? Wait, come back! Oh boy. But I mean, look at this. To be fair, the people that are on Wikipedia are as annoyed about the lack of sources that I am, but that doesn't change the fact that like it turns into issues sometimes. But yeah. See, here's the thing that complicates this whole rigmarole, right? And the reason why I have a problem with putting this in here in the first place. So, like, for instance, perfect example, take the most viewed take the most viewed game of all time, Minecraft now. Do you include sales of Windows 10 in that? Oh, by the way, Janine, 11 orders. We just have 11 more orders to go, and we can actually, I can actually do the print run and get Bajillions out. We are so close. I'm very grateful at all the orders that have happened thus far, and I'm hopeful that we can push just a little bit more. I'm going to do some more pushing to some of my connections and see if I can get some links to Bajillions posted in some places, and see if we can't get across the finish line there. But anyways, yeah, so here's a question. Minecraft was bundled with a console. Am I sure that there are 11 orders to go? Let me check. Let me check. And in order to check, let me just not. Okay, can we just get rid of this, please? Thank you. Wikipedia is, of course, widely known by all content creators to be like that which brings all the boys to the yard. Square. Next time I'm gonna make my own shop, because the Square shop is fine, but it's kind of like meh. It's not fantastic. Looks like we have another sale. Yes, we do have another sale. Let me double check to see we've got all of them. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 sales. 13, let me just update that. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Oh, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Oh my gosh! Thank you so much. That's another big sale. Thank you so much. We are now no longer at 11. We're actually now down to substantially less than that. Can I get? God, can we just do the thing? There we are. We are now down to 2. Thank you so much. Wow. Okay. Well then, that's amazing. We just have 2 orders left before we hit our goal. Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Yeah. See, let me just double check that I've got all this stuff there. Yeah, so we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Yep, just 2 more left. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. It really floors me when people buy multiple copies, because like this game's not a good deal right now. I feel really bad about that. But the fact that people are willing to buy multiple copies is just blows me away. It's absolutely incredible. Oh man, it's incredibly nice. Here's an interesting fact that I discovered: the vast majority of sales of Bajillions has actually gone to people not in California, which I found that to be very interesting. I always thought that like my super fans and my audience, and indeed the majority of people watching right now, was actually just people locally in California that that regularly come to my stuff and things. But actually, like, those people are here, and they are like and they are interacting and stuff. But like the vast majority of them actually are. I'm shipping things to Ohio. I'm shipping things to Tennessee, and I got one going to Florida. No one international yet, which is good because I'm not shipping international because, you know, it's expensive. But yeah, I'm amazed and very humbled by it. It's fantastic. But yeah, yeah. So I guess that's that's a lot of the stuff on there. Let me see here. Let me see if I have any other interesting tidbits to talk about for the next like 8 minutes or so. Because I think we're gonna run for probably, I think 90 minutes is a good like sort of rambly point. I could go until like 3, but you know. A, lack of lunch, and B, I should probably have things better prepared. I think it would be nice. Maybe I could do like an RPG next time. That'd be fun. But let me see here. Are there any other interesting effects? Oh yeah, things like this. Okay, so global customers to Subway daily. Doesn't that sound like an interesting fact? I mean, Subway is like one of the biggest restaurant chains in the world, right? And that sounds like, you know, the number must be rather large, but not impossibly large. So that's got to be interesting. But Subway doesn't have that stat, because Subway, as you may learn if you look into this, is a independent franchise owner sort of situation. The Subway organization sells the Subway name to anybody who will buy one. This is actually a substantial problem that they have compared to certain other franchises, which is also why you often see subways across the street from each other, because they have very small exclusionary zones. And to that end, every store has its own stats, but they don't really report to Central, or if they do report to Central, they don't. Central then does not tell the rest of the world, which makes it incredibly annoying to get any reliable statistics on how many sandwiches that Subway makes. And as such, it's a fact that should be in Bajillions, but isn't. In theory, you'd want to limit the number of brand names as well in Bajillions, but I'm gonna be honest. I think that it kind of helps a little bit with the way that people perceive the game, because it's something that they know and recognize. I think you might need the trademark in order to do that anyway, so it's probably for the best overall. What else we got? Yes. Skin cells in a square inch of human skin. This is one that I really think does exist somewhere, but I cannot for the life of me find that number. Like, you would think that it's a pretty solid number, right? That skin cells in a square inch of human skin. Some people have done Fermi-style estimations of the total number of cells in the human body. But it's one of those things that's just, like, not of any assistance whatsoever to anyone in the medical community. Because, like, everybody needs to know how cells work, but who needs to know how many cells there are? Nobody, really. Science journalists, but they don't really do grants for that very often. How many cells are in a square inch of human skin? Well, nobody knows is the real answer. Or more accurately, nobody's bothered to check, because, like, what are you going to do? Count them? You could multiply it out, but the cell density is not uniform, which means that if you pick, like, a spot right here, that may not correspond to the rest of the human body. You could say like on the human palm, and that might work, but apparently there's some variance between humans. Maybe you could average them together then, because again, if you what's a few million when you're talking about billions? And sure, you can do that, but nobody has. So, or at least in a way that I haven't been able to figure out, which is incredibly annoying. So yeah. I do want to put something in like that, because the number of human cells is ridiculous. The number of bacteria... Here's something interesting, though. The number of bacteria that is in a human body, primarily in the gut, is too big of a number for Bajillions. Weird, right? You wouldn't think that, but yeah, by weight, there's more bacteria in your body than you, which is what? Their cells outnumber yours like 10 to 1 or something. It's ridiculous. Almost all of them are in your gut biome, but yeah, no, it's ludicrous. Anything else before we wrap up? Yeah. Here's one. The number of operations IBM's Watson supercomputer can make every second. Watson, remember? Watson, the one that could do Jeopardy. That publicity stunt. Here's the thing, though. It reads kind of like an ad for IBM systems, which, by the way, IBM, if you're watching, you're not, but I will absolutely accept a sponsorship. I am a corporate shell. We'll totally do that. But yeah, no. It's I'm not being paid for it, so like the ad doesn't fly. That, and also the number is also once again too big for Bajillions. Operations that a computer can do are measured in flops. Um, uh, uh, Finite logical operations per second, I think, is what that stands for. Probably not. Feel free to correct me. But nevertheless, usually you have things where it's like in teraflops or gigaflops or things like that. And it's too many flops. The number of operations Watson can do per second is actually, let me see if I got the right number of zeros here. Million, billion, trillion, 80 quadrillion. Once again, we got the quadrillions in here. There are shockingly few things that you can find a quadrillion of, because quadrillions are like unimaginably big. All of the money that humans have ever made, ever, is a number that is in the trillions. Quadrillions is the number after trillions. And no, that is way too big of a number for everything. Quadrillions, to put quadrillions into perspective, quadrillions is about the upper limit of numbers that are useful. Because and in fact, it's actually like one step beyond that. Like the tens of quadrillions and the hundreds of quadrillions are where newscasters start saying million. When a newscaster says a million, what they really mean is quadrillion. Yeah, which I don't know why they don't use the word quadrillion, because like that's such a good word. It sounds like a made-up word that a 5-year-old thought of to mean lots. Only slightly less amusing than the other large number, sextillion, which is a real number, and I got in trouble for using it at school, and makes me incredibly annoyed because I was the sort of dork that actually knew million, billion, trillion, quadrillion, quintillion, sextillion, septillion, octillion, nontillion, dectillion. I knew that growing up, and I loved being a smartass kid. That's why I had no friends. Which is, frankly, I don't blame them. But yeah, this is 1,000. This is 1,000,000. This is 1,000,000,000. This is 1,000,000,000,000. This is 1,000,000,000,000. That's too many numbers. Look at this shit. It's ridiculous. Save. Yes, okay. Make it smaller. It's ridiculous. Look at all those zeros. At that point, you start talking about the zeros instead of the actual numbers themselves. And 1,000,000,000 is already too big of a number for humans to understand. Hell, 1,000,000 is too big of a number for people to understand. When people get 1,000,000 views, I think they don't really recognize what that means. I mean, 1,000 is already a really hard number to comprehend. 1,000 is a big stadium. 1,000,000 is like an impossibly large stadium. And then like billion is 1/7 of humanity. The infinities and infinities. And that's billions. Then you move on to trillions, which is just like an impossibly large area of numbers to understand. What even is a trillion? I dare you to even visualize that. It's really hard to put them together. And then when you get to quadrillions, it's too big for bajillions, right? The giant trivia game about giant numbers, quadrillions is it's too much. It's just entirely too much. That and also like, I mean, I found like 3 quadrillions numbers, and like, how many other ones do you find without doing something stupid like saying like, you know, the length of the Golden Gate Bridge in nanometers, which is an incredibly annoying question. How the hell am I supposed to know? You don't. You can't. That's a crapshoot question. You're not going to figure it out. So, at any rate, that is why Bajillions caps at the trillions, and even then we try to limit the trillions as much as possible, and only use them for like ridiculously large numbers. Also, by the way, brings me to one other point, which is that's why we are not going to be including the U.S. national debt in the number. Why in Bajillions? Why? Simple. Everybody kind of knows what it is. It's in the higher trillions, and as such, that kind of blows most of these other numbers out of the water. The whole point of trivia is that you don't necessarily know the answer. If everybody knew the answer to a trivia game, then it wouldn't be a very good trivia game. But yeah. Anyways, next time, hopefully I will have made 2 more sales, and will be the stream that I will be showing you all of the proofs, and hopefully, actually, even if I get those, if I'm able to get those last 2 sales before Tuesday, I might be able to have the next stream be me showing you all the stuff that came from the printer and the boxing party. You've heard of unboxing parties, but how about a boxing party in which I pack up all of your copies of Bajillions, and you get to watch live on stream as I pack up your game and get ready to ship it off to you. Here's hoping, looking forward to that. I'm thinking that that for that first stream that we did, we got like a whole 15 odd people on, and it was awesome for Bajillions. The problem is that I don't think that we're going to be having enough people to actually play the game in future. We might play a little bit of it here and there, but unfortunately, I don't think that we're going to be getting the kind of numbers we did last time. So instead of games, it'll hopefully be a boxing party, which will be a thing that I'm definitely looking forward to, at any rate. Anyways, thank you all so much for coming out. Thank you for your support by purchasing this game and getting us from halfway there to almost there. You guys are absolutely incredible. I was really worried after I put out my latest email on the list that that no one would read it because it's too long and kind of an obscure joke, and B, that it wouldn't go anywhere because we only got a handful of sales from that. But I really appreciate you guys coming in, helping out, supporting us, and hanging out. I'll probably be streaming some games here and there. I've been meaning to play some Satisfactory, or maybe some other sorts of games. Maybe even some trivia games with you guys. We'll see what it turns into. But until I see you guys next time, thank you so much for stopping by, and cheers.